Alrighty, so thanks for. I'm really stoked to hear that a couple of people are like interested to hear about this stuff, because as a player, you really love to know that people are keen to learn more about the whole scene. I come from a playing background, so getting into this site really was a labour of love, I guess, and doing leagues is a labour of love, especially in the early days. So I've been involved since the 90s over in WA with Doug, and I played my first nationals with Doug, and actually was required as part of my employment to do league in the beginning, and was like, oh, what am I doing here? And then accidentally fell in love with the sport. And I guess that's one of the main themes, is that we actually have a really incredible game that is really appealing to a lot of people. We have an incredible product. So what we're going to talk about today is really what are leagues and competitions. Why would you bother? Because you've probably heard some stories about how difficult they can be, and how to get them started, like practical things to get off the ground. So what are leagues and competitions? I actually can't remember what I put into this slideshow, so I'm actually just going to keep going. What is league? So in Australia, we do things slightly different to in the States and over in Scandinavia and stuff like that. You'll find overseas they like to sort of organise dedicated competitions where they get ready for the Tampere invitational or something. Once every X number of months, they'll organise a tournament, and everybody will prep their teams for that tournament and all that kind of stuff. And that's the way their scene works, and they have probably a little bit less operator involvement, a little bit less operator support, so they sort of lease the space sometimes overnight and do midnight dawns and all that kind of thing. And a lot of the players have a fairly large involvement in the rules and how the tournaments run. Here in Australia, we have much more of a sort of a league kind of a thing happening, where basically it's like a weekly social tournament. It's their first step into competitive laser tag, I guess, like that. Typically they run for sort of a 10-week period. We break over school holidays. That's what a lot of sites sort of do. And it is basically you come each week. Your performance that week accumulates onto a team ladder, and at the end of the season, in pretty much all the final systems we use, everybody makes the finals, and the higher you are up on the ladder, the easier it is to make the grand final. And there's a whole bunch of ways that we do that, but that's basically what happens pretty much. So it's very much a social competition, so there's a social aspect to it, and of course there's a competitive aspect to it as well. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. So here's just a couple of pics from our league. So we have, that's some of our team members at play. That's a big part of the league, is the social, the fun aspects. A lot of kids come here, especially in their teens, because it's an excuse to get out of the house. So they come down here and hang out with their friends at league on Tuesday night, and it's a way to get away from their smaller brother or sister or something like that, catch up with friends, and they get that first sort of taste of independence as a teenager, I guess. And of course there's the awards and recognition aspect to it. So the opportunity to, the guy on the second from the left and second from the right, that's dad and son. Dad and son can go do a sporting activity together, where they're both on an equal playing field. As soon as they strap that pack on, they're both on exactly the same playing field. There's another, also the gentleman on the left and the guy in the centre at the back, that's dad and son as well. And we also have a dad and daughter combination that come down. So that's an activity that they'll take into their adulthood, that they have done together through their teen years, that they'll reflect on. That becomes a special part of their sort of family history and their story, I guess. So that's another aspect to it. So that's basically one of the questions that will come up for a lot of people. Leagues can be pretty difficult in the start, and people go, is it totally worth it? And it is totally worth it, and there's a whole bunch of reasons beyond financial reasons why we really support league. We really feel that is a serious part of our business. Yes, you have to do it right. If you don't do it right, then it can be problematic. But the financial return you get from the league isn't necessarily the complete story. And that's another thing that we want to talk about today. So basically people like, especially young people, impressionable people, like to operate in a kind of a group mentality. So culture at the league is pretty much your number one thing. Establishing good culture. So when we first moved up to the Sunny Coast, for example, I think my first week of league, I had a guy punch somebody out, and he had to go away to hospital or something like that. There was fights every week. They were obviously very complaining, and that was a carryover from a culture where the players were really allowed to do what they wanted to do. So where the operator was really, well, the person running the league was really distant from the players and sort of allowed them what to do, they had a free rein. And when they had that free rein, somebody came in and tried to, go in a certain direction with it. They were like, oh my gosh, like what's going on here? They're taking away our little toy from us. So the herd mentality thing can be not a challenge, but it also can be an absolute strength for the league. Once you establish a good one, and we'll talk about how to do that in a little while. So why run them? Okay, so firstly, what's your revenue on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night? If you're in the middle of Surfers Paradise and you have people cranking through the doors left, right and centre, this might not be the product for you. If you are a standalone site or a multi-FEC site where you don't really have much happening on a Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday night, that is income that's there every single week, all of the year. The guys, it's consistent, so you can predict how much it's going to be, and it wasn't going to be there anyway. So the effort required to get it going, if you can do it in a quick amount of time, is definitely worth the effort. But this is first in the list because I feel like this is the most smallest component of why the league is worth it. Okay. Next thing is the hardcores at home to go. So I know Laserforce in Fremantle back in the day used to turn people away if they got too good, because they have people coming in who are regulars who want to play and they get really good at it, and they're just beating up on families, they're beating up on kids in their birthday party, and they were told, sorry, there's the door, you've got nowhere to go. Okay, this gives all the hardcore players a place to go so that you can get them out of your public games and into something else where they can all be together, all the hardcores can play together. So that really helps the public, and it means you're not turning people away. Members find your pack issues for you. So there are issues you will have which we call intermittent things. Yeah, things that the public will never pick up, which is a slight malfunction with the pack. It might be the trigger doesn't quite fire 2 shots a second or fire the right speed, or something very minor. The public will never pick it up, but it'll affect their experience. They will, without knowing it directly, they'll know that there's something not quite right, or they won't quite enjoy their game, but the pack is still sort of working, okay? Members will find all that stuff for you. They will make sure they definitely tell you this pack's not working right, to the point where they probably sometimes come out with a pack issue that isn't actually there, which is fine, because we'd rather test it and make sure that all our packs are fine, and that way we know on the weekends all the customers are getting 100% of their experience. Alrighty, staff product knowledge. So we encourage our new employees to play league as part of their recruitment. They don't have to, but we encourage it. And it becomes an opportunity for them to get to know the other team outside of work. So they come down, they socialise, they eat pizza, and they get to know the guys on a new level, which actually helps the performance on the weekends. Because when they can communicate openly, and there's nothing in the way, because there's no nervousness, and you know what it's like communicating with a friend rather than somebody who's still you're establishing that connection with. It's different. So that's what happens with the staff playing league. And of course their product knowledge. So I think we touched on it yesterday about if one of our employees is walking through the arena and they hear a sound which isn't quite right with the bass, or a person's pack's not quite flashing right, or anything like that, straight away they'll pick up on it. Because they played league, they know what things should do. So all of a sudden the service delivery on the weekend, which is the big part of what happens in the arena, goes to another level because the guys have a better understanding of what's going on. Gives your centre a heartbeat. So I think Adelaide guys are a demonstration of what we mean by this. So they have, guys out the back making shoes, I assume, stuff like that. No?
We do slave labour pretty hard, so we bring them in, draw them in with laser tag, and then
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I guess what we're sort of referring to here is that something happens when you form a league and you form this little sort of community at your centre. It starts to get a bit of a new life into it that wasn't there before. And they're available to do things like when you're really under the pump with a renovation or something, they might come in and just help out or something like that. We did mobile operation down at the Pine Rivers show down the road here the other week. It was a 3-day event, and this is the first time we've done it, so I didn't want to invest fully into a lot of wages to have a lot of people there for 12 hours a day for 3 days. So I went and did the event, and I had a whole bunch of the members come along, and they did it in shifts of 3 or 4 hours. And they just put packs on and off of kids. They play Lord of the Rings out in the courtyard when there was nothing happening. and they absolutely loved it because they want more credibility and acknowledgement for what they're doing. They tell their friends and their family about this activity that they do, and nobody has any idea what they're doing on the weekend. So they do it as a labour of love, and from the centre's perspective, all of a sudden we've got this access to resources that we didn't have before. So that's a serious part of what can happen there. Networking opportunities. Now this, I guess, is when you start getting more into the scene, here in Australia especially, the amount of connections that I've built up with people in other states, site operators, networking at the Nationals, networking with other players and operators about the things that they do, similar, exactly like what we do here. So in many ways, what we are to PNC Micros is what the members are to the site. So is the Australian operating group the most profitable market segment for PNC Micros? Absolutely not. The Australian operators are quite a small group. Are we valuable to PNC Micros? I think we are, because we provide all the we bug test things, and we have these little community gatherings where we talk, we share ideas. There's a whole bunch of other benefits that come from it, and that's what sort of comes from being involved in the sporting scene. You get this advantage, and whether you're directly involved as an operator or not is kind of irrelevant. And we'll talk about that in a minute, is that really you just need to find people that are passionate about the game, who you trust, who can be the shining light for your site, if that makes sense. And this is probably the most valuable one that I see for our business in running league. It positions your site as the place to play laser tag. And this is your ability to compete with the 14 M9s that are in your area and the hole in the wall that's at the bowling alley, pretty much. This is the thing that differentiates you. The people come into the site, they see all the displays and the trophies, which is a significant part of when you set it up. You want to have that kind of stuff available, which I might add you can get even if you don't have an existing scene. There are operators around have leftover trophies and shirts that are just throw them at you to get a display going, so you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff to set up. But people come in here and they see the newspaper clippings and stuff on the wall, and they go, oh, these guys went to national titles and they did this and that, and it creates a conversation where they go, okay, this is where the pros play, or the top level players play. This must be where the best place to play laser tag is. And that's how you get increased revenue through people that aren't even coming to league. They'll just come here on Friday or Saturday night because they know this is the place where everyone goes. This is the cool place to be seen if you want to play laser tag. There is another one in here actually. How to get started. There is one I forgot in here that I didn't mention. And that one is the refinement of the arena. So something happens when you start playing leagues and competitions, things like that. You have to take out every single part of the arena which is overpowered, or that person can sit in that one spot and they can tag everybody and they can get all the points. All of that stuff has to be modified to even the arena up, okay? And yeah, you could not do that and the public would barely notice, but I promise you they do notice, because what they notice is there's always that one or two people in the public group that have played a little bit more than everyone else, and those people know where those secret spots are where they can stand and get all the points. At the end of the game they come out, there's one or two people that have flogged everybody because they know where those secret little areas are to get the most points are, and everybody else is like, oh my god, such and such just absolutely drilled us. And we know this from experience, because when we first renovated our arena it was not right, and we did actually notice our sales started to drop off after a few months. And then as we refined the arena for tournament play and everything like that, we started to get the flows coming back again because they enjoy the arena. Our arena is way less pretty than our competitor down the road. The competitor down the road is very pretty, and I know I fully support pretty arenas, no doubt. But people who this activity survives, or in our situation, family entertainment centre, we survive off people playing repetitive laser tag, not coming once and never coming back. We rely on them coming back, even if it's once every 12 months. Maybe hopefully once every 6 months, hopefully once every 3 months. That's what we rely upon. And they will go to the arena that is fun to play, not the one that is pretty. They completely don't care about the prettiness unless you're sort of like smaller than that kind of height there. So the refinement of the arena is, we feel gives us a huge benefit and that's for running league. So how to get started? Alright, first thing, get the right people on the bus and in the right seats. So what we mean by this is our sort of experience has been you want at least one, hopefully two committed people that are going to be there from the start that can follow the project through. If you don't have those people and they're not the right people, they need to be people that people respect and like. They're likable people. They can relate. They're good communicators. Little kids will look up to them. So if you have somebody that people don't really look up to, then they're going to go. For me, that's an activity I really want to invest my discretionary time in doing. Because this is not really the person that I aspire to be, if that makes sense. So you need to find those right people. And in the right seats, that's just basically getting them doing the tasks that naturally they gravitate to. So that is the first thing you do before even considering running leagues and stuff like that. Have you got the people available who can follow this thing through? And if you're going to be there for a period of time, because it takes more than one season to get a league fully going. Okay.
How long are your seasons?
10 weeks. We run 4 a year.
It's pretty much the same.
Normally
Everyone
between
goes 2
school
weeks.
holidays.
Sorry?
Normally between school holidays.
Okay, so 2.
So this one's really just about the experience of the network, utilising the experiences of the network. There are a lot of people in Australia particularly who have a lot of experience, up to 20 years. It's probably, sitting in this room alone, there's probably half a 500 years worth of laser tag competition experience. Utilise that. That is absolutely gold. Like, you will learn stuff from those guys because every situation is different. Doc's situation is very different. He's got different clientele. His arena's set up different. There's different things you can learn from different operators. So talk to them, figure out the tools that they use, and utilise those tools for your best benefit. Next thing, obtain the tools. So there are heaps of tools around. Don't try to generate your own grids. Don't try to create your own sort of method of how. You can try to create your own method of how to run league, but I would say obtain the tools from the existing network because it's tried and tested. And the man sitting at the back here is probably the greatest creator of tools of laser tag tools. Going around, he has a website, dougburbage.com, which has an incredible number of schedulers, and he's got stats going back for years, and grids, all this kind of stuff on there. So you can get the tools available. We can give you all of our tools as well. So we have everything from team sheets, so how to set up registration of teams, how to do an induction. We'll talk about that in a little bit. An induction for your league is just an absolute winner. Ref rosters, just real practical, just things that you can use to make your leagues more professional, run better. Establish the culture. So as part of our induction, we try to keep it down to 20 minutes at the start before they start the league. A big part of the induction is establishing the culture. So we will go through things like how the season works, and you're going to get awards at the end of the season, and you get 3 points for a win and 2 points for a second, and then it all accumulates, and all that kind of practical stuff they'll get. But right at the end, before we actually kick them into their first game, we go through a little talk, which is the importance of sportsmanship and the fact that we are a social league. Because you need to create you need to get them into a space of how they're going to behave in the centre before you start. It creates an unsaid agreement between the two people. If they're going to go forward and play league, they're agreeing to what was in the induction. So we found since we've included inductions, a couple of things happen. We get better retention because they're better prepared for what's coming ahead. Another thing we included in the induction is you're going to get your ass kicked for 4 weeks. So straight away manage the expectations of the player. They come off public games, they think they're awesome, they're getting 20 grand a game for like the last 6 months, they kept first place, they're awesome. They step in a league and they get negative 2,500 or something like that. It's absolutely drilled because it's a completely different level. So we straight away let them know you are going to get your butt kicked for 4 weeks. But in 4 weeks, we're going to teach you every week. And in 4 weeks' time, you'll start to pick up where people are going to be standing. You'll start to figure out how to communicate. You'll start to get used to the timing of the packs, all that kind of stuff, and they'll start to progress. So straight away, they don't care when they get that crappy score at the start of the game. So establishing the culture is in the induction, and then of course in the existing player base. So if you do have a situation where you have a player base which can be a little bit unruly, it can take some time because the new players coming in will gravitate towards the average behaviour that's going on already. So once the behaviour of the league is already good, it becomes infinitely easier to maintain the behaviour of the new players coming in because that's that's the expected behaviour around the place. That's what's happening. Alright, so the next part after that, once you've got all that other stuff right, you've talked to people, you've got tools, you've got the right people on the bus, you know what you want your playing culture to be, you've got all that kind of stuff sorted, then you start recruiting players. Okay, because there's no point starting a league unless you have all that stuff sorted first. And recruiting can happen in so many different ways. There's no limits to how you can recruit for league. We started off here with this thing on the desk which said, would you be interested in playing league? And people would write their names down. And when we got to 20 names, we organised the start date and just rang all the people up. And you only need 15 or 20 players to start. That's all you need, just a small group of players. There's other ways you can do it. We have YouTube. We've talked about YouTube today. We're about to start the YouTube stuff. We don't know how it's going to go yet. We've got Facebook now. We've got all these other tools that we can use to recruit now. So the possibilities are limitless with that, and I don't know what they might be. Alrighty, so running successful leagues and competitions. That's sort of how to get set up, how to run them successfully. Okay, so again, just to repeat it again, culture is everything, and one of the sort of values of our league is being welcoming to new players. Because what happens is there is a social clique that occurs, everybody knows each other, and as teenagers and young adults, they don't necessarily have the greatest manners in the world. They're not, they're not conditioned to welcome everybody into the clique necessarily. School and stuff like that can be quite segregated. So making it a thing that when new players come along, make sure you make them feel welcome and talk to them and show them things and all that kind of stuff. The retention of the new players coming in will increase from that. So there's sort of our main things that we focus on in the induction and just with our general sort of culture. Having fun is the number one thing, so trying to detach the results. Results aren't as important as making sure that we're having fun. And by I mean results, I mean like the results of the game. So if they come out third, that's not as important as making sure everyone's having a good time. Sportsmanship, really, really important. Be a gracious winner and a humble winner and a gracious loser. That kind of philosophy is really, really important. Safety as well is an important thing, just from the perspective of, I guess, insurance and to make sure people are going to be okay. Respect, and that comes down to the centre as well as the players. So we encourage people to respect the equipment, not to throw the equipment, not to kick the arena when they have a bad game. All that kind of stuff is important, and being welcoming to new players again. Alrighty. Now this is, I was speaking to Tim about this morning. I think the Adelaide guys have done this better than I've seen from most sites. I haven't been to Canberra, so I don't know what the social aspect is there. I know in WA, when Wombat got his stuff started, they built up a huge scene in Western Australia. They were the sort of the godfathers of laser tag in Australia, in a sense, because they had such a big scene. And it all came down to this social aspect. So organising an event, they go out to Macca's after league, or they have, what else do you guys do? That's really magic. So they play card games in the rooms between league games, stuff like that. And it's not like if you don't have the social aspect, it doesn't mean your league won't work, but it's one of those added things that you can add on. We never had a great social aspect to our league until recently, and the guys are starting to get to know each other better. Our league went okay, but when we added the social aspect, it got better. So it's not critical, but it certainly adds something to your league. Statistics. So probably half your players play league because of the social aspect, and maybe half your players play league because they get to see the stats every week and they see how their progress is, tracking and all that kind of stuff. Having the statistics up in an accurate and timely manner are absolute key. If you're putting the stats up like 4 days after league or 2 hours before the next league starts, they're like, well, if these guys don't care enough about getting the stats up, why should I care about this game? If they don't put any importance on it, why should I? So this is a really key part for a lot of players who like the sense of reward they get from seeing themselves improve over time. So that's a big part. And thanks to tournament manager that we have now, we have an excellent tournament manager, and Doug's built a system called Torn that can manage all your tournaments. We get incredible statistics out of our already pre-made tools that we talked about. They're there, available, that can generate all these stats for you at a click of a button. It's really, really simple. Okay, professional and organised. This is what my bedroom looks like sometimes. What can happen with leagues is because the players are coming every week, they start to take on a sense of ownership of the place. So they can start to go, oh, I'm having my pizza now, just wait for my game. Or, you know, they're stuck outside having a cigarette, and they're sort of, you're impacting the integrity of how the league runs for the needs or the in the moment needs of players and stuff like that. That kind of stuff you need to try and get rid of if you can. Really doesn't help the league, because to give credibility to the sport, it requires people, like, the rules to be implemented the same each time. So if you're changing the rules on the fly, oh, this week we were terminating for this rule, and then they changed the rules again this week, and then the week after, oh no, they didn't like that. Or sometimes that rule gets applied for that player, but not that player. Things like that can demonstrate to people that it isn't really a credible sport. It's just like this game that people play, and it's at the whim of whoever's organising it on the day. So having things run on time, making sure that, if there's a really tough rule or something like that needs to be implemented, even though it might not have been 100%, somebody might have their nose out of joint by implementing it. The integrity of the league is more important than the wants or needs of one or two individual players. Something I did mention before with the culture is, in leagues, you have to be absolutely prepared to let somebody go from the league. Absolutely. They're a different class of customer. I haven't had to do it here for many years, but in the early days it was give them a week off, and then if it still happened, ask them not to come back again, at least for a season. Okay? Because the integrity of the league is way more important than whether that one individual customer is satisfied with what's happened. Because that one person that's being unsportsmanlike or doing something that's affecting the experience of other players will have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players leave because of them. So it's okay for that one player to go. It's more important that for the league and as a whole to not have that player there. So you need to be prepared to do that, especially in the early days. As you develop culture, you don't have to do it anymore. It's self-managing. The players will be like, man, you can't do that. They'll just step in and just let them know without you having to do anything. Inductions, absolute key. Like, if you don't have an induction process yet, I cannot recommend it highly enough. One of the things about the induction is that when people come down here, they're looking for their to be included, I guess. When you do an induction and you actually demonstrate to people what's actually going on, how it all works, you're demonstrating that we actually care. They actually care whether you actually learn this game or not. Something else that we started doing only a couple of seasons ago, but we found really helped the retention of players, is we start league at about 6 o'clock, people start arriving. We ask players in their first season to come down at 5 o'clock. And what we do is we get into the arena, we have them stand there and just shoot each other like this, just so they can get the timing of the packs. Because the first thing they need to be able to do to be able to hold their own in the arena is actually be able to tag other players if they're standing next to them. And a good player will just go bang, you're dead before the other person even knows he's alive when he first starts. So inductions, and then introducing them to the game by just giving them real key basics. Yeah, you're giving away a little bit of free laser tag in a time that you'll never be using anyway. 1 hour before league starts on Tuesday afternoon. What starts to happen is that your key players start to get involved, so they start to go in and show players. It creates this culture of passing on the knowledge and passing on the skills and everything like that. And all of a sudden, before you know it, all your players are doing it for you. You don't need to do it anymore. If we have an induction process as part of the tools, and I'll be happy to share it with you. So just on a practical level, how a typical night works. This is what's in the induction process. Basically, how a typical night works, how the league works in general, about the game and how to win, rules and penalties. And I might add, with rules and penalties, everybody knows that a player in his first season will basically not get penalised until probably the end of the first season or the start of the second season. They'll get a lot of verbal warnings. It's very important to the whole welcoming thing. They need to be able to learn the rules before they actually get penalised for them. And something we don't go through in the induction is the rule book. Really important, because there is too much information in there. They can't process all that information in one hit. So what we do is basically go through the key things like, don't put your phaser around the corner like this without looking first. That's basically one thing. Base evacuation. So we have this, the way we play tournaments is that, say this is the base area here, this little room, There's say just one entrance into the base is on the wall there. There'll be a line on the floor over here, and every time you get deactivated, you have to they will learn throughout the season as they progress. We go through the league culture as basically the final thing we talk about before we go in. So it's like emphasise this, and then the final thing we do is an equipment and arena tour. So pick up the gear, show them how to hold the phaser, because the first thing they do is grab it like a public player, which is like that on Helios or like that on Nexus. First thing you do is you switch their handhold around so they've got the same handhold as all the other players, so they're not getting absolutely smashed in the gun, in the phaser, I should say, the whole time. And give them an arena tour so they know where the reloads are, they know where the bases are, they know where the baselines are, they know where you give them basics of where you expect to see people standing, and try to keep it as simple as possible but get the key information in there. Alrighty, teach and offer assistance. So this is basically on the point we'll bring up before, is just teach where you can, and this is again, getting the key people. You need the key people who can communicate and are happy to offer their discretionary time to come down and do this stuff an hour before league. That offering assistance and teaching is another way you can demonstrate to the new league player, we actually care whether you get into this sport or not. We want you to be part of our little group, our little family that we've got going on here. And then your repeat levels, or the people, just the percentages of players not dropping out in their first season, which is the risk season, is much lower. Alrighty, and special recognition. So, we have trophies at the end of the season for the winners and for the most valuable player who gets the highest. We go off a statistic called GRC, which is I can talk to you more about later, but you could go off average score, you could go off whatever you wanted to do for MVP, and we have a most improved too. So we look at last season's stats, we see who's improved their stats the most this season, and we give them a most improved player. But on top of that as well, in week 9, so the week before league finishes, we do a survey to the players, which we think is really, really important, because you can get feedback from the players on things that are up at the time. So we popped a question in there a little bit, just after Worlds, was how much are you guys interested in playing World settings at League, for example, which is the Worlds format is slightly different to the Australian format. So we asked the players, would they like to play it? And that gave us some feedback on whether they would like that or not. Just whatever's up for your league at the time. You might be experimenting with settings and stuff like that of your own, and you can pop those questions in there. The other thing we pop in there is basically like, who do you vote as the best base cracker? Who do you vote as the most improved player? Who do you vote as the fairest player? Who do you vote as best captain? This kind of stuff. And you give them a list of names and they all put numbers in the boxes, and then at the end of that you have a peer-reviewed award system. So that peers are getting recognised by their peers. So it creates a whole new sort of world of awards you can do. And there's limitless possibilities you can do with awards and recognition. The idea is that people get acknowledged for playing and for contributing in ways which are aligned with your purpose and your culture at the league. A few practical aspects just to finish it off. So when you first start, you have this period of time where you've got people trying to decide whether it's this sport that they actually want to take on. Because we don't have heroes on TV, not yet. We don't have it's a new product for many people. They're like, oh, I never even knew this existed. Like, what is this? So people are coming along. It's not like where they go to soccer and they know what soccer is already. They've decided they're probably going to commit for the season. When people first start coming to league, if it's a new league, they haven't decided whether they're committed yet, whether they've got the full buy-in. So your numbers may fluctuate. They might be here one week and not the next week. They might come for a couple of weeks and drop out. Until you have that solid foundation of, it might take you 20, 25, 30 players to get a solid foundation. You've been around for a while and they've all started to develop that social connection. There might be fluctuations in the numbers for the first little period. So in the first year that we ran the league here, we did like a varying team league. And what it is basically every week they rock up, you form the teams. The teams change every week based upon who's there, and you want to mix the players up to get them to know each other and all that kind of stuff. And based upon the results of what they got that night, they will get a set of points. So you'll notice here, for example, Duchess and Rockstar both had the same points. So they were clearly teamed up that week. The next one you've got Rockstar that week was with Locksky Bro. So I mixed them up a little bit. So we've been playing pairs in this is my junior league. We've been playing pairs every week. and based upon the results they get, they accumulate points towards an end of season total. So basically, the better they perform on average from week to week, and the more they show up as well. So they have to show up to get their points. So there's more incentive there to keep coming. Once you get to a point where you have a group of players that want to be able to form a team of people that they've met at the league, and they want to be able to follow through on a, they want to be able to strategise from week to week and improve as a unit. That's when you want to go to a fixed team league, where the teams are fixed at the start of the season, and they get to experience like a 10-week season and a finals campaign together as a group. And then you make that transition when you feel it's right for your situation. So this is our current league. So this is basically the fixed team league. This is one of the reports you can get out of the current tournament manager. So you'll see competition points. Basically they get 6 points for a win, 4 points for a second, 2 points for a third. Ignore scaled points. Scaled points is for teams that have played less games. So this team here, for example, has got different scaled points to the competition points because they missed a week. Average score is just basically their average score of all the games that they played during the season. You can see there, games played for the season. They get tags for and tags against and team kills. So there's just a bunch of team stats that they get on that report, and that comes out every week on the Facebook. We try to get it out within an hour or two after league if we can. Handicapping. So at a league level, handicapping we've found, and in the WA experience as well, was really valuable. And what it does is it basically means that it evens out the experience level difference of the various teams. So what happens is that each player is given a grading or a ranking from, in our system it goes from quadruple A all the way down to triple E. So there's 12 different incrementations of the grading, and depending on the various skill levels of the players on your team, you get given a handicap. So a team of brand new players, like my team this season, we get like 173% of our score at the end of the game. Which has its own benefits, because my philosophy with our team is if I can get them a base, they get the base is worth 3,000 points, they get 173% of 3,000. So the base is actually worth like 4,500. So our strategy every week is just to dump our base, not worry about protecting our home base, and just go all aggressive, which is great when they start because they learn how to work as a group. We've got the power of the numbers because we don't have the individual skill yet. We're still learning that, so we have the power of the numbers to try and destroy bases. They don't have to worry about too much strategy and communication in the defensive side of things. They can just keep trying to get in to get the base. As they improve and they get better on the packs and our handicap comes down, then we have to start playing proper laser tag. We have to start protecting our base, and we have to go out there and try and get some organisation going on between our attacking and defensive squads. So handicapping, we've found the system needs to work. We think we've found the system that works, and the only way we know that, yes sir?
Another reason that handicapping is good is that it makes low-grade players attractive. If I've got a team of 5A grades, our handicaps are going to be so harsh that they're not going to win. What I want is some strong players, and I need to get a couple of weak players on my team to give me the handicap that I can win.
That's a totally brilliant point. It's like when we do the induction, we say to the guys, okay, so anybody in our league who's of C grade or less is allowed to fill in for a team. So the team rocks up and they're missing their player that week because they're away or something like that. What they're allowed to do is get one substitute player in each game. But they have to be of C grade or less to do that. So they're only allowed to get the newer kind of players. So in the induction, we tell the guys, okay, you're ranked as a triple E to start with. So expect to get a lot of people come up to you, tap you on the shoulder and say, do you want to play for my team? Because you're a real lucrative prospect. You're only a triple E, but you're probably playing at a higher level than that until you get to the regrading point, which is sometime into the season. They'll become a lucrative prospect. So straight away they're sitting in the induction going, oh cool, are people actually going to want me on their team? Rather than the traditional method where the new player is like, oh my god, please don't put him on our team. People really want to get new players. And like Doug said, when you're forming a team, you can't just fill your team full up of quadruple A players. It just doesn't work. You're not going to be able to physically get the score you need in order to overcome the handicap disadvantage you have. So you need to have a balance of players. You need to get some D graders and some lower grade players. So the handicapping really works to include the new players and even out the playing field. And the only sort of measure we have that it works is that how many teams at the end of the season have won with a low handicap, a high handicap, and a medium handicap. You know, if it's always the high handicap teams that are winning league, then you're probably out of balance a little bit. And if it's the other way, if it's always the low handicap teams that are winning, you're probably out of balance. So with the system that we've got running in the tournament manager that Rakesh's designed, we have a pretty good history. We've got a fairly even balance of high handicap, low handicap, and mid handicap teams. So we feel like it's working all right. And the way the tournament manager tools work now, everything's automatic. You do not even need to work out the handicaps. You literally give people cards, they log into their pack every game, and it automatically regrades them at the right point of the season and adjusts the handicaps on the scoreboard, which is like heaven for us because we've been through years of doing all this stuff manually. So that it's never been easier to actually run a league than it has at the moment. And finals. So this is stuff you'll find on Doug's website. He's got a lot of these kind of finals grids and stuff like that, various systems. This is a system that we use in our league and at nationals. It's called System D, and the way it works is that all the teams at the end of the season are ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you'll notice teams 1 and 2 go straight into this game, so they skip a couple of games. It's going to be much easier to make these boxes over here, the grand final games. It's much easier to make those grand final games from these top positions here. If you're down the bottom here at number 7, you've got to win this game to go into this game, and then you've got to get a win in that game to progress through the grand final. If you're in the first 2 places, you just have to win your first game and you're straight into the grand final. Okay? And this progresses down all the way down to how many teams you've got in your league. So this is just a quick example of a 7-team league, what your grid might look like. And teams they do come all the way from the bottom to the top. It's happened on a number of occasions. So the emphasis can be in the league is don't worry so much about your ladder position, just worry about how you're executing. And at the end of the season, if you go and get your stuff together, if you get all your communication right at the right week of the season, you can come right the way through from the bottom to the top and win it. And it's happened on a number of occasions. So that takes the focus away from being on the bottom of the ladder as well, which is something that you want to do. And of course, there's all these other variations. And a lot of these we play at national titles and world titles and stuff like that. Triples, doubles, elimination, all the ring solos. There's a whole bunch of variations. So for those that don't know what Eliminator is a game that's mainly played in the States and Finland. And basically you get a limited number of lives. You get 8 lives, and once you're out of your lives, you're out of the game. And only the players that are alive at the end, only their scores count. So it's a much more tactical game, slower game. It's not as much activity happening as you would in a traditional game, but it's really, really good, especially at the start of a tournament for learning an arena. They get to learn every square inch of the arena, and there's no base play, so they get to learn all the various areas of the arena without having just to focus on the bases. LOR stands for Lord of the Rings. We do play it at our nationals, what we have done. It's not a game that we are particularly focused on in Australia. Some players are, but not as much as in the States and in Finland, where they're very focused on Lord of the Rings. It's basically a circle, 10 to 13 feet in diameter. 3 people go in there, there's no cover in there, and they just try to tag the crap out of each other, and the person with the least number of tags is the person who wins the game at the end of the game. And it's an opportunity to show off all your fancy shots and do your dodging and all these crazy things that they do. And the solos is just basically an individual game. So that's pretty much all the variations. So when you first start your league, if you don't quite have the numbers, like my junior league, we've only just kicked it off this season for the first time. We've only got 12 kids that come down to start with. So we run doubles every week. You know, we've got 6 pairs in there, we run 3 bases, and it's pretty easy to get bases when you've only got 6 pairs in there, but that's awesome. Because we want little Johnny, who's only 12 and he's a lot more sensitive than the senior leaguers, we want to make sure they're all pretty even on score at the end of the game. We don't want some little kids who are like only 8 or 9 getting followed by a 12 or 13 year old. So we're happy with that. So you can pick and choose what suits your situation. You might even decide that with your senior. If you launch a senior league and you've only got 15 players, you might decide to launch in triples and have 5 triples every week. Okay? And with that changeable format league, you can mix it up from week to week. You can play triples one week, doubles the next. You can change it whatever you've got based upon the numbers you have on that week. So there's all those variations too. And that's it, thank you. And I guess the biggest thing about our game is that pretty much anybody can play the game. Okay, that's one of the most appealing things about our game versus other sports, is that mum and dad play, dad and brother play, little kids play, tall kids play, doesn't matter gender, size, whatever is going on, everybody's on an equal playing field when they throw that pack on, and that's what makes us unique, and that's why running leagues and stuff is appealing to lots of people. So So you have the interest there if you have the people there that are willing to put the effort in. And thank you very much for having me.
On your league nights, is it how long's a league night? How long does it run for? Like 2 hours, an hour?
Yeah, it goes from like, what, 6:30 to 9 o'clock?
So 3 hours, and that's virtually closed to the public then, it's just no one else can play.
That's right, yeah. When you first start a league, like when we first started, we only had 15, 20 players. We would chuck public in there in between league games.
Oh, okay.
And now we've got 10 teams, we don't have the time. So you can still get your public through if you need to when you're first starting it off, so you won't lose revenue. You won't completely lose the revenue from that space of time when you're first starting. But by the time you've got to the point where you've got 8 to 10 teams or something like that, you've got revenue coming in anyway. So it's no big.
And do you charge the same for a league game as you do for normals, or do you pay for a season? Does that work?
We do a season pass. They pay $17 a week at our league, but you could easily get 20. Well, we can get 20. We're probably locked into an old pricing model, and there's a resistance to putting it up because you've got people that come every single week, and you've got younger kids who want to try and keep the cost down. But I think you charge 20 for yours, don't you, Doc?
No, we charge first night up. We invite players that are brand new to come in and have a try, so it's free.
Yeah.
They can have a sample. We'll put them on a team. We'll put them with a coach to start with. But I'm going to talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, our pricing starts at, depending on the season we're running, but we run a 3-tier pricing session. So non-members that still want to play league, and then league members, we used to have Laserzone Association, which you get a discount as well. So down to $17 per 3 games.
Yeah, we do a similar thing to Doc. We offer the first night free. And another thing we started doing about 2 years ago, which I think works, but you can probably get a few more dollars out of it, is that we do the first week for free just to try it out. And then we have this shameless marketing process, which is we give the next 4 weeks for a total of $20. And the reason we do that is because we let them know straight away you're going to get your ass kicked for 4 weeks, but this $20 offer is to help you get through the learning curve. Okay, so then straight away they're expecting it, if that makes sense. And we tell them straight up it's a shameless marketing ploy to get you hooked, and then we know by week 5 you'll be hooked into the league. And we let them know that straight away.
I suppose with that as well, you pay up front. If I pay my $20, then I'm going to come back for the 4 weeks because I've paid for those weeks and I'll get my money's worth.
Yeah.
So that's something else you can consider.
Yeah, totally. And we do a season pass we do for like $150, so they might works out to an average of $15 a week if they do a season pass, you get the money up front, and if they take a week off, they still pay for it. And also we do a thing with reffing. So when you first start, you're probably not going to have refs. A lot of sites don't have enough players that are experienced enough to referee the games. But as you get through the years and you've got more experienced players, you can put referees in there. And we offer our refs $15 league, as long as they ref at least 2 games. So a little bit of a discount, but it improves the league having referees in there. It adds credibility to the game and makes sure everybody's operating within the rules. Social correction. People tend not to break the rules, even if there's no refs in there, because they've got to come out and socialise with the people afterwards. So most of the time they behave pretty well.
For varying ages, do you segregate the very young kids, teens and adults? Safety reasons?
Yeah, we do 13 and over for our league. That would be 13 to play. And we feel that's important because when adults come into play, if they see lots of little kids running around, it becomes a resistance factor. They feel like they're doing a kid's activity. So we've created a junior league. We're still figuring it out, how to do it right. But the junior league is for 8 to 14-year-olds, so there's a bit of an overlap. That makes sense. They've got a year there where they can play junior or senior league. So they can, it's a change of social scene as well, when they change from one league to the other. So we give them a bit of overlap time to accommodate for that and that sort of thing.
Sorry, Ben, you talk about league members. Is there a membership charge or how's that like?
We don't do a membership charge. Some sites do. I guess our philosophy has just been for the cost of a one-off charge, it creates a barrier to entry. That makes sense. Where we make our money is then coming back every week for years and years and years. So we don't do a membership charge in that way. But you certainly could. I don't know, back in the day they used to charge $2 for the little cards. And I think they charge $2 a laser balls. Apparently they make a fortune out of it. So that's not something that we do. That's something you could look at if you wanted to. Because when you're starting from scratch, you don't have all this history that you need to think about. If that makes sense. Like it used to be this way, now it's this way. You're creating your expectations from the start. So you think about how you want to do it and then how much you think it's worth for the time in your centre and stuff like that, and you can create a price level in their head. You can charge $20 for league for everybody if you wanted to, and that becomes the average, the price that they associate with playing league. So yeah, you're in an advantageous position where you can get the price up straight away if you want to.
We charge a $15 registration fee.
Can you speak up to the question so we can hear, please?
So we charge a $10 registration fee for every player, and we justify that by saying that's for trophies at the end and everything like that.
It does take a long time, the first couple of weeks, just creating your teams, getting team names, and balancing your teams as well. Like if you're just starting, it's probably not too much of an issue, but if you've got 10 teams that have been playing for the last 5 years, half of those could be nationals players, and then half of them could be new players. You can't just go, this is going to be a group of new players, and this is going to be a group of nationals players, because it's just, you might as well just go and give them the trophy to start with. It's not even going to be a comp. So somebody who's been involved with the league and knows the player skills really needs to be looking over everyone, and that's where the grading and stuff comes in as well, and the handicapping. And that $10 really covers just the time spent and the trophy costs of organising that. It does take a little bit of organising. Once you've developed that over the first 1 or 2 weeks, the rest of the 8 weeks, just it's easy. Everyone comes, everyone knows their team, they come in, they look at their game, jump in, have a good night. Yeah, that's how we do it.
Building on Matt's comment about teams of experience versus teams of new, I think that sometimes happens is you get 5 new players come in and say, we want to form a team in the league. And you have to push back against that because you have to have a really bad experience if you are 5 new players and you get completely wasted. Try and break them up. Half of that is selling them to them, half of that is finding strong players who are willing to take on new players.
Yeah, that's totally on there, yeah. We do the same thing. I'm not sure if you guys heard that, but encouraging a team of 5 new players who come in to split up in the first 2 seasons if they can. Because that team of 5 new players, even though they're going to have a ridiculous handicap, will get absolutely drilled, and they won't like it very much. So yeah, if they really want to go together, then actually there's a system that might have been, I can't remember which side it was now, might have been in WA. What they do if they really want to go together as a group of 5, they put an experienced player with them, and the score of the experienced player doesn't count. So that basically means that the experienced player has this incentive to get them through the bases and have them make the tags and all that kind of stuff. If that makes sense. So that's a good way to do it. That's what you guys do? Yeah. That's a good alternative to that as well. Yeah.
It's the only way to get around and not breaking up. It's got to be done. And you usually find in a group like that, 2 or 3 will get the shits, so to speak, and say, that's it, I've had enough. And then that player back and forth with them just sorts and takes over as captain.
Yep.
And the ones that remain will pick it up, really solve and continue to play.
And the ones that do split and for a season or 2 will tell you after 2 seasons, I'm really glad you had to split up at the start. They'll say that because they go, oh, now they know what the league's about. They're like, we would have absolutely gotten drilled the first week, season or 2. Any other questions? Yes?
Sure, more important.
Just in your experience, do you get players to make their own teams, or do you get coordinated to make teams for the league?
Can you repeat the question?
So the question was, in our experience, do we get players to form their own teams, or do we form the teams for the league? So what happens is, this is a cultural thing as well, but we had an issue where all the players expected us to do all the work forming all the teams every single season. And it got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. We've got to create. In WA, it was completely different. There was a culture of people went away and formed their own teams, which is way easier because it's way less work for the operator, and it means that you don't, or the person running the league, and it means you don't get it wrong. You know, if they've made the option to do it, then they do it. So we have a mixture now. We encourage, there's a culture now where people sort of form their own teams, we encourage that, but there's always going to be a couple of kids that just rock up and want to play, and they don't know where they're going to play. So we just sort of, half of our teams are pre-formed and half of our teams are sort of formed, I guess.
So it's really going to be on a site-by-site basis as well. Like, you've really got to look at your league and your players and decide whether doing it for them is better, or whether you've got a group of people that are fairly reasonably skilled across the board and are those type of people that can go and make teams and not make a super team. You know, like it really depends on the group.
Yeah, so the tournament coordinator has to keep the feet up and say, no, that team's too strong, you have to lose one of those
Yeah,
guys.
and it can be hard.
Another thing I did mention before as well is we have a couple of key players. This is probably actually when our league went through the ceiling. We had a ceiling, we couldn't get past 6 or 7 teams, and we pushed through it to get to like the 8, 9, 10 team mark. And the catalyst for that was when after a couple of years, I got this like key little family around me of guys like Beefy, and I had Callum and a couple of staff members, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 players, which were like my go-to guys. So if a new team came along, I had that person who could go with the new team and take them on. And Beefy doesn't play for league; he gets free league. He knows he's my bitch. Like he goes on whatever team that I give him pretty much, and he accepts that. And they do it because of a labour of love. They know they come to league because they want to go to nationals next year, and they want to see everybody improve, and they want to see the whole scene improve. They don't come to league because they want to win league at the end of the season. They've been playing for like 10 years, 15, 20 years, some of these guys. So league's really just a way to keep cultivating the scene for these guys. So getting to that point where you have those guys that you